I had never heard of Megan before. I was beautifully surprised when I walked into that room and saw her. And there she was, sitting there. I thought, I am really going to have to up my game here. Sit down and make sure I've got a good chat. I sometimes still feel I am living in a goldfish bowl, but I now manage it better. I still have a naughty streak too, which I enjoy, and is how I relate to those individuals who have got themselves into trouble. My mother had just died, and I had to walk a long way behind her coffin, surrounded by thousands of people watching me while millions more did on television. I don't think any child should be asked to do that under any circumstances. Part of my role and part of my job is to shine a spotlight on issues that need that spotlight, whether it's people, whether it's causes, issues, whatever it is. People would be amazed by the ordinary life William and I live. I do my own shopping. Sometimes when I come away from the meat counter in my local supermarket, I worry someone will snap me with their phone, but I am determined to have a relatively normal life. And if I am lucky enough to have children, they can have one too. The fact that I fell in love with Megan so incredibly quickly was sort of confirmation to me that all the stars were aligned. Everything was just perfect. It was this beautiful woman just sort of literally tripped and fell into my life. I fell into her life. I fell into her life. The fonder the memory, the deeper the ache. The heir and the spare. There was no judgment about it, but also no ambiguity. I was the shadow, the support, the plan B. I was brought into the world in case something happened to Willie. I was summoned to provide backup, distraction, diversion, and, if necessary, a spare part, kidney, perhaps, blood transfusion, speck of bone marrow. This was all made explicitly clear to me from the start of life's journey and regularly reinforced thereafter. I love my mother country, and I love my family, and I always will. I just wish, at the second, darkest moment of my life, they'd been there for me too, and I believe they'll look back one day and wish they had too. I heard the story of what Pa allegedly said to Mummy the day of my birth. Wonderful. Now, you've given me an heir and a spare. My work is done. A joke, presumably, on the other hand. Minutes after delivering this bit of high comedy, Pa was said to have gone off to meet with his girlfriend. So, many a true word spoken in jest. What hell? Being an adult, I told them that I failed to see how speaking to Oprah was any different from what my family and their staff had done for decades, briefing the press on the sly, planting stories, and what about the endless books on which they'd cooperated, starting with Pa's 1994 crypto autobiography with Jonathan Dimbleby, or Camilla's collaborations with the editor, Geordie Gray. The only difference was that Meg and I were upfront about it. We chose an interviewer who was above reproach, and we didn't once hide behind phrases like palace sources. We let people see the words coming out of our mouths. Is each generation doomed to unwittingly repeat the sins of the last? It wasn't that she felt no emotions. On the contrary, I always thought that Granny experienced all the normal human emotions. She just knew better than the rest of us mortals how to control them. It occurred to me then that identity is a hierarchy. We are primarily one thing, and then we're primarily another, and then another, and so on, until death. In succession, each new identity assumes the throne of self, but takes us further from our original self, perhaps our core self, the child. Yes, evolution, maturation, the path towards wisdom. It's all natural and healthy. But there's a purity to childhood which is diluted with each iteration. He assured me that people do stupid things, say stupid things, but it doesn't need to be their intrinsic nature. I was showing my true nature, he said, by seeking to atone, seeking absolution. Maybe money sits at the heart of every controversy about monarchy. Britain has long had trouble making up its mind. Many support the crown, but many also feel anxious about the cost. That anxiety is increased by the fact that the cost is unknowable. Depends on who's crunching the numbers. Does the crown cost taxpayers? Yes. Does it also pay a fortune into government coffers? Also, yes. Does the crown generate tourism income that benefits all? Of course. Does it also rest upon lands obtained and secured when the system was unjust and wealth was generated by exploited workers and thuggery, annexation, and enslaved people? Can anyone deny it? According to the last study I saw, the monarchy costs the average taxpayer the price of a pint each year. In light of its many good works, that seems a pretty sound investment. But no one wants to hear a prince argue for the existence of monarchy, any more than they want to hear a prince argue against it. I leave cost, benefit analyses to others. My emotions are complicated on this subject, naturally, but my bottom line position isn't. I'll forever support my queen, my commander-in-chief, my granny, even after she's gone. My problem has never been with the monarchy, nor the concept of monarchy. It's been with the press and the sick relationship that's evolved between it and the palace. I love my mother country, and I love my family, and I always will. I just wish, at the second, darkest moment of my life, they'd both been there for me. And I believe they'll look back one day and wish they had too. She said, "That was everything." She said, "That is a man, my love." She said, "That is not a spare. In some ways he was my mirror. In some ways he was my opposite, my beloved brother, my arch. Nemesis. How had that happened? Grief is a thing best shared. In this mixed-up world, this pain-filled life, we'd done it. We'd managed to find each other. I recall one headline addressed pointedly at Granny. "Show us you care. How rich." Coming from the same fiends who cared so much about Mummy, that they chased her into a tunnel from which she never emerged. It struck me at some point that the whole basis of education was memory. A list of names, a column of numbers, a mathematical formula, a beautiful poem. To learn it, you had to upload it to the part of the brain that stored stuff. But that was the same part of my brain I was resisting. My memory had been spotty since Mummy disappeared by design, and I didn't want to fix it because memory equaled grief. Not remembering was bomb. No one had an answer for a boy actually seeking external pain to match his internal pain to match his internal. Maybe she was omnipresent for the very same reason that she was indescribable. Because she was light, pure and radiant light. And how can you really describe light? Even Einstein struggled with that one.